Okay, so let's get the first Monday and the first full business and markets week in November started. I am Bosin Amafai. This is Business Morning, live to you from Lagos, Nigeria's economic and financial capital. So Nigeria's Investment Showcase, or the NIS, holding in London November the 7th, this Thursday, will showcase projects and transactions to over 40 UK financial and strategic investors. The Lord Mayor of the City of London, Peter Estlin, is hosting this summit, and he's bringing together leading figures in public and private sector, investment funds and financial institutions, all of them looking to reach financial close before Africa's Investment Summit, another bigger event taking place on the 20th of January 2020, also in the City of London. British Deputy High Commissioner Ms. Harriet Thompson speaks exclusively to Channels Television in a few minutes from now. Meantime, FMDQ Securities Exchange is presenting Nigeria as a compelling destination of capital on Thursday and Friday this week, bringing together local and global market stakeholders. The FMDQ Summit, including its Gold Awards, look to stimulate interest and highlight key areas of doing business in Nigeria's financial markets and the economy in general. Pension sector regulator PENCOM says the window will be open for individuals within the contributory pension scheme to transfer their accounts to any pension operators of their choice effective June 2020. And Nigeria's Customs says January 31st, 2020 marks the end of the first phase of its operations at land borders and not the terminal date for the ongoing total border closure. The NCS says security agencies and officers will be notified of further development about the phase 2 of the border closure on or before January the 31st. So let's talk about the upcoming Africa Investment Summit. But before that, the Nigeria Investment Showcase taking place this Thursday in the City of London. Ms. Harriet Thompson, who is the British Deputy High Commissioner in Lagos, is live here in the studio for this exclusive interview this morning, bringing everyone up to speed what to expect at this very big event in the next 4 days down over there in London. Thank you very much for coming, Deputy High Commissioner.
Thanks for having me.
We appreciate your time. Let's start by looking at Nigeria's UK relationship, but more importantly, doing business, UK's commitment to doing business in Nigeria. Where are we at the moment as far as that is concerned?
We're in a good place. So our bilateral trade and investment relationship is growing. It currently stands at around £5.1 billion, so it's very, very significant, and it's increasing quickly. The thing that we want to change about that, though, is at the moment, a huge proportion of that figure is down to oil and gas. Now, oil and gas is important, of course it's important, but it's not going to be what creates the jobs that Nigeria so desperately needs in order to meet the population growth. So we want to support the government of Nigeria to diversify away from oil and gas, and we're looking to bring in more UK companies, more UK investment to support that transition.
Why is this important? If you look at it, you look at the trade figures and you're talking about, yes, we have trade, but Nigeria needs foreign direct investment. So, and this is something very key. What's the interest here from the United Kingdom? What vessels would you be using or instruments to bring this into Nigeria or upscale the present level of FDI? So
it's very clear that Nigeria itself can't afford the level of investment that it needs in infrastructure and power and so on. So foreign direct investment is key. Now, the UK has got the City of London, obviously, trillions of dollars of investment go through the City of London each year, and currently only 2% of that comes to the continent of Africa. So the investment summit that we're hosting in January seeks to change that and divert more of that quality investment to the whole continent. And of course, for me and my team, our focus is Nigeria. As the biggest economy in Africa, Nigeria ought to be attracting the lion's share of that. And that's into sectors, infrastructure, power, agriculture, where the real growth is going to come from. But not forgetting tech as well, one of these really impressive sectors where there's such great growth that's already contributing so much. So my team here has more than doubled over the last year in order to really take advantage of those opportunities to support the Nigerian government at federal and state level, but also the private sector here in Nigeria as well as in the UK to really boost those opportunities.
You're looking at Nigeria from the outside and from the inside, and you're looking at economic policies, you're looking at policy actions over the last few years. Are you encouraged by some of what you've seen on the ground? At the moment, there will be are they enough to convince companies, institutions, and all that to do more business with Nigeria?
So there's some positive signs. Nigeria's just moved up to 131 in the World Bank's Ease of Doing Business ranking. That's great. We've got some partnership working underway looking to develop a Jollof bond. So this is an offshore Naira-denominated bond that we hope will be listed on the London Stock Exchange. There are all of these things that are moving us in the right direction, but still our companies tell us that they worry about the possibility of bringing out their capital in future. They worry about the sanctity of contracts and the possibility of retroactive changes to those. They worry about taxation and multiple demands from different agencies. So although we do see a lot of positive developments, there's still room for improvement. So it was great to see President Buhari's commitment to moving Nigeria up further to become one of the top 70 countries in that World Bank ranking by 2023. And certainly we're increasing the support that we give to government to try to realise the changes that would help to achieve that. For example, a single window for import and export would be a really key thing, increased access to power, these sorts of things that would really make a difference.
Have you been engaging the Nigerian authorities or Nigerian government agencies? What I mean by government is that at various MDAs at whatever level to ease some of these concerns of British businessmen, British investors in the Nigerian economic space? Yeah,
I'm pleased to say we've got great relationships with many of them, and we'll have the Ministry of Trade and Investment, we'll have NIPC, the Nigerian Sovereign Investment Authority, Bureau of Public Enterprise. All of those will be present at the summit, at the showcase on Thursday. We've got great relationships, and as I say, we're looking to boost the support that we give to those agencies.
What exactly is the NIS all about? Nigeria is going to showcase you about 40 big names, big firms, big individuals, deep pocket folks who would want to hear them about Nigeria. So what will the UK be putting on the table here? What would they like to hear and see from Nigerian making presentations?
So we've got, as I mentioned, those agencies who will be coming to talk about what the big picture in Nigeria looks like, the improvements that have been made and the improvements that they're looking to make. And we've got 15 companies who are doing business here in Nigeria looking for investment. And they will be telling these British investors about the range and the breadth of opportunity that there is. So we're covering the infrastructure sector, agriculture, tech, all of these different areas where so much is happening in Nigeria. And we'll be having an honest conversation about what some of the companies who are here already have experienced in terms of challenges, and they will be explaining to companies who are interested in coming how they have gone about overcoming those challenges, working around those challenges, so that we can reassure people that although, yes, it's difficult doing business here, it's still possible. There are still British companies who are doing great things here. There are British companies who've been here for a long time. British Airways, Shell, Diageo, Unilever, all of these companies show that this is a great place for British companies to be doing business.
Nigeria, like other African countries looking for relationships around the world, they're looking for investment in Russia, in China, in the US. Do you think the existing relationship with Nigeria, the UK with Nigeria, would need to be tweaked in some way from the authorities in the UK to hold your position, as it were, as Nigeria's long-standing both political and economic partner under the new global geopolitical climate that we are seeing and changes in trade relations and all of that?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, let's be frank, the UK isn't where we'd like to be in terms of the size of our bilateral trade and investment relationship. We want to move ourselves back up those rankings and be one of Nigeria's top partner. Our offer is not going to look like the Chinese offer. Our economies are very, very different. We can't come in and do the sorts of things that China are doing. Where we can come in is bringing that quality private investment, the quality skills in those niche areas that Nigeria is looking so promising in. And that's what the Africa Investment Summit is all about. When our Prime Minister came last summer, Prime Minister Theresa May, she was clear that she wants the UK to be the top G7 into the continent of Africa. And Nigeria has got to be front and centre in that effort. So the investment summit is about bringing all of British assets to bear. It's not just about the government, it's about the private sector as well. But yes, we have work to do, and it's about partnership.
Beyond oil and gas business in Nigeria, what are the new frontiers that are of interest specifically to the UK authorities and the business interests of the United Kingdom in Nigeria?
Well, if we look at the sectors where there's most promise, we're talking about oil and gas, of course, and we can't ignore it. But beyond that, renewable energy as well. And with the UK hosting the UN Climate Change Negotiations Conference at the end of next year, and with our commitments to be net zero carbon emissions by 2050, that's a big priority for my country. So we're looking at the huge potential in solar, in hydro, in wind power as well, and off-grid solutions that will really make it easier for small businesses to run and to grow. We're looking at agriculture, which has got great potential to create jobs and to feed Nigeria. Tech, which already contributes more to GDP in Nigeria than oil and gas, and where there's so much exciting work going on. Infrastructure, of course, because without those roads, then it's going to be hard to get products to market. So there are a huge number of sectors where UK companies have got the skills and the expertise that we can put together with the offer from other countries, such as China, including Russia, in order to bring Nigeria the package of investment and support that it needs in order to see those sectors moving.
Yeah, because if you look at in the news in recent months, Nigeria is signing a few deals left, right, and centre with other authorities or countries around the world, and UK hasn't signed on any very big ticket transaction or deal, like in the power sector, for example, like in agriculture. Do you think there will be a major financial close, as it were, either on a government-to-government basis, on a business-to-business basis, at this November 7th event, or at the list at the January 2020 Africa Investment Summit?
Yeah. So the aim of the November event this week is to widen the conversation so that we're bringing more investors in to understand the opportunities that there are here in Nigeria. We don't expect to close deals on Thursday, but we want to start those conversations with a view to progressing by January so that some deals will be ready to sign in January. However, we're absolutely clear that this drive to improve our investment relationship with Nigeria is not all about January. The Africa Investment Summit is a milestone rather than the end point, and my team are working here with the private sector and with government to think about how we carry on those conversations after January. So we hope to see some deals signed in January, but again to progress the conversations so that we're really building a strong pipeline, and over the coming months and years we see more of that investment coming through.
When you look at across Africa, I'm sure UK has its footprints across the continent. So again, when you look at the continent, either on a country-on-country basis or on a regional basis, what do you really see in terms of the dynamics of today's world in terms of trade? Everyone is shopping everywhere for whatever he or she can, whatever country can get to move his economy forward. Some of the biggest economies in Africa are not really top end as we speak, Nigeria, South Africa. So you have emerging economies like Cote d'Ivoire, Senegal, and others coming through with some big numbers in Ethiopia in terms of the GDP. So do you think the UK will use the January 2020 summit to offer more support, and in what areas, to the big names on the continent to get their bearings back in terms of economic steam?
Yeah. So, I mean, that's what we want to see. Now, the continent is home to some of the fastest growing economies in the world. We all know that. Nigeria is not one of those, frankly, at the moment, and we would love to see that changing. But the point of the summit in January, the point of the showcase this week, is not actually about support. It's about partnership. So it's about the UK bringing private sector to the table, as well as government support to the table. But we do expect to see changes. We need to see changes from the Nigerian side as well. So let's be clear about that. There are a number of things that need to change in order to see Nigeria's economy grow by far more than the 2% that we're currently seeing. So we have the CDC, which is the UK government's investment arm, had just opened last week its office in Lagos. We hope to see that really increasing the amount of investment that they're making into the country. We have a huge offer from our UK Export Finance Guarantee Company, including Naira denominated, and we're yet to see that really take off to the extent that we hope. We've got PIDGE with the Private Infrastructure Development Group. We've got NIAF, which is another infrastructure support arm. So all of these things coming together, we hope will really underscore the commitment that the UK government has. And then with the UK government investing, strengthening its offer, we hope that that will encourage UK private sector to come on board as well.
Why is Nigeria specifically central to what the UK wants to do or is doing on the African continent, or more specifically in sub-Saharan Africa?
Yeah. So look, our relationship with Nigeria is long, it's deep, it's broad, and that means that Nigeria, you know, the people-to-people relationships between our countries are so strong, it's natural for us to do business with each other. We need to take advantage of that. But there's also the size of the economy and the size of the population. Now, from our perspective, that creates huge opportunity for our private companies. So let's be clear, this is about mutual benefit. It's not simply about the UK saying, how can we support Nigeria to create the jobs because it's good for Nigeria, because it creates the stability and the security that we so need in Nigeria. It's about recognising the opportunity for ourselves as well, speaking very honestly. It's very much about partnership.
How soon do you think perhaps a private sector, British private sector team could be in Nigeria as well for what you call a trade mission?
So those come through very frequently, and one of the things that we need to do as we go through the investment showcase happening this week, as we continue preparations for January, is to really work out where best to focus those trade missions. We want to bring as many people as we can to Nigeria, of course we do, and everybody who comes falls in love with the country. But we need to make sure we're targeted. We need to make sure that we're ready from the Nigerian side as well as from the UK side to really make sure that those missions achieve their objectives. But so we're bringing them through all the time.
So the Mayor of London is hosting this. You'll be there?
I will be there, and I should just say it's actually not the Lord Mayor of London, it's the previous Lord Mayor of London.
Oh.
And that's because when he visited Nigeria, he was really struck by the opportunities
about a year ago
here.
or so.
Exactly. So he really wants to maintain that relationship.
Oh.
So it'll be Sir Charles Bowman hosting, and yes, I'll be there as well.
Yeah, okay, great. Nice one. We look forward to this taking place, and I'm sure you've got a lot to do. We've got to let you go at this point. Thursday is just around the corner.
Thanks so much.
You need to head to the UK. Thank you.
My work's set out. Thank you.
I know. Harriet Thompson, the British Deputy High Commissioner, Lagos for the United Kingdom, talking about the November 7th Nigeria Investment Showcase and what to expect at the Africa Investment Summit on the 28th of January next year. We'll take a break. When we come back, the market last week finished off a bit on the downside. A very nail-biting October finished off despite those earnings. We had nearly 90 earnings on the market street last week, but the market finished a little bit soft. So Temple Ashaju, our business correspondent, is live to us from the Nigerian Stock Exchange trading floor. Then we got a playbook for the month of November from Afrinvest. All of that coming up in part 2 after the show. You're watching